Chair. Just a reminder, the governor did extend the waiver of physical quorum requirements for local meetings, but we do have a physical quorum present here of our voting members. We've made arrangements to accommodate the public's ability to participate to the maximum extent possible with the electronic availability, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Grant. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. Again, for those who are participating remotely, if you use the raise hand feature, that really helps us identify if you're trying to say something and are waiting to be recognized. We'll look for that. The chair has requested that everyone do that. Of course, to reduce background noise, please mute your audio if you're not speaking. It helps us keep for everybody, it helps improve the audio quality for the whole meeting. We are broadcasting on YouTube today as well. So those in the public, if you're watching this video and wish to comment or have a question for the board, there is a place on our website for the minutes of today's meeting where you can do that. There's an email form that you can fill out and send that in to us, and we'll get that read into the record. And if you experience any audio or visual difficulty during the meeting, the fastest way to fix it usually is just to close your connection and come back in. That's probably the fastest thing, because obviously it's difficult to do tech support on the fly while we're in the meeting. And during the interviews today, which are following closer to the end of the meeting, we'll have a 15-minute timer available up on the screen here in the room and also on the video display, so that we can kind of keep track of time. That's just a courtesy timer to help us manage our time with each applicant. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, and since we are social distance, feel free to take off your mask if you're more comfortable with it off, and it may help people understand us when we're talking a little better. So we'll move to item C, which is the approval of the agenda. We would like to modify one thing on the agenda. Under L, Crystal Harris withdrew from consideration for a board seat, and we are going to move the last person, the 6 o'clock person, Michael Curick, up into Crystal's slot at 5 o'clock, and that's with his agreement and understanding. So that being said, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
So moved.
And a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I can count everybody here who said aye.
Yeah.
Have we gotten Jeannie online? Okay, okay. Awards and presentations.
Okay, yes, Madam Chair, we have several, or 4 service awards this afternoon. Two that were not able to be here, and then we've got 2 that are present. We'll begin with Luis Rodriguez, who is not able to be here. He is a help desk technician in our IT department, and we're recognizing him for 5 years of service to the organization. Next is Matt Mason. Why don't you come up here and stand, Matt, so we can see you. Matt Mason is an engineer 2 in our operations department, and we're recognizing Matt for 10 years of service. Thank you, Matthew.
Seems strange not to shake hands.
Doesn't it? Next, we've got Terry Biller. Come on up, Terry. Terry's my former assistant in my old capacity here. She's assistant to the vice president of operations in the operations department. We're recognizing Terry for 25 years of service to KUA. Thank you, Terry.
25 more. Oh, no.
And then our July employee of the month is Erica Glynn, who is not able to be here with us today. Erica is a customer service representative 2 in our customer service department. She is one of our call center representatives, and has been with KUA for 6 years. Erica was assigned to the new service queue 2 years ago and has demonstrated great dependability and focus on this new assignment. She's the top producer with new service initiations. In FY 2018, she initiated 1,492 accounts. In FY 2019, she initiated 2,341 accounts. And thus far in 2020, she's initiated 750 new accounts with minimal errors. Erica is someone who is always on time and with few call outs. She displays a strong dedication to her responsibilities and commitment to excellence. It is evident that she takes pride in her work. She also displays a strong willingness to assist her coworkers. We all appreciate Erica for the hard work and devotion. And on another note, Erica recently welcomed her first child, Kyler Charlotte, who was born on June 6th. So let's recognize Miss Erica.
Okay, moving on to item E, hear the audience. Do we have any public comments that have been sent
Madam
in?
Chair.
Okay. F, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept. A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're all in favor, so we'll move to G, public hearing.
Madam Chair, this afternoon, we have the recommended FY 2021 operating and capital budget on the agenda for public hearing and board consideration. The budget before you tonight reflects the changes authorized at the June board meeting. The $229 million budget represents a 3% increase from the 2020 budget. Here to provide you a little more detail on that budget and the process that was used is Kevin Crawford.
And do we have any comments that have been submitted for the public hearing?
No, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, so I don't have a lengthy presentation for you tonight, but this presentation does represent many hours of work and staff, hours of and your review as well and your input. And so this is really the culmination of a lot of review. For those who may not be familiar with the process, we thought we would kind of just go through the timeline that we have shared with you previously for the benefit of those who may not be familiar. So on April 1st, we brought to you the preliminary budget meeting, which is the overview of the budget, the capital and staffing. And then on June 3rd, we brought to you the O&M portion to discuss any direction that you would give us for the O&M side of the budget. And then today we're bringing to you the adoption of the budget or for your adoption via this public hearing for July 1st. And then August 5th, we have an alternate meeting scheduled if the event were to be necessary in order to meet the requirements for the 45 days prior to the new fiscal year. And then October 1st is the beginning of the new fiscal year. So the budget that I'm showing you tonight is, as Brian has said, is substantially unchanged except with the modifications that the board directed us to make at our last time together. But what we've done is we've brought you a budget that achieves these following things over the 5-year plan. The current fiscal policy of the board is achieved over the 5-year plan. The O&M reflects no staffing increases projected over the 5-year plan. There is no base rate increases projected over the 5-year plan. However, as we have done in years past, the portion of the rate will fluctuate with costs for fuel and purchase power, and rate stabilization is utilized to achieve the bottom 1/3 goal. Our commercial paper debt will be retired over the 5-year plan as we presented previously. No additional debt issuance projected over the 5-year plan. And if I could step back just for a second, we do want to remind you that the revised budget incorporates all those changes. And there is one modification in the general manager's letter that will go if the board does adopt the budget tonight. When we print the final adopted budget, there are some scrivener's errors in the general manager's cover letter that in the narrative part that we will adjust whenever we print the final version of the budget for you tonight, pending the board's adoption. But other than that, there's no material changes in this budget. So just briefly, as you all have seen this before, you've seen it rather in depth. You've reviewed it in your budget materials that we've sent you. This is just a quick highlight of how we've achieved meter sales, the documentation of how we've gotten to where we are. Meter sales revenue is at $241,937,000, which represents about a 1.5% increase based on a 4.2 or roughly percentage increase in customer growth as compared to the original FY20 budget. And then when you take in the cost of power adjustment and the various adjusting items that get us on a cash flow basis to where we need for the fiscal budget, you've got total operating revenue of $196 million. Moving into the other operating revenues and other sources then, these are the components that we add back. Some are cash, some are non-cash. So it's not a GAAP financial statement presentation, but a cash flow. And so when we add some of these other sources back, like depreciation, which is a non-cash expense, and other true ups through the balance sheet, we get to a total revenues and other sources of the $229,492,000 that Brian referenced to you in the total budget amount. Looking on the O&M side, obviously the biggest piece of the expenses here are fuel and purchase power at $117 million, and that's 51% of the total budget. Departmental O&M is next, $39.8 million, personal services being the biggest component of that cost. And then also our capital improvements of $28.4 million is the third biggest component there in the total annual budget. For total expenses and other uses, to present you a balanced budget of $229,492,000 in uses, which equals the revenues that we had just previously shared with you. Finally,
I'm sorry, can you go back one?
yes, sir.
The budget for 2020 was 123 and it's 117, 6,000, a lot of money, 6 million. The difference is that based on what happened in 2020?
That's fuel and purchase power has decreased a little bit from last year. The fuel and purchase power is running a little bit less, because of reduced demand to some degree, increased capacity, increased storage. So consequently, fuel and purchase power prices have come down. We anticipate those to continue that trend for the current fiscal year, or for the coming fiscal year. So that's why the reduction. And so that gives us to the total expenses and other uses of $229 million. And then we bring to you this afternoon the resolution 20-01, the approval for, or recommending approval for the fiscal year 21 budget of $229,492,000, assuming again no base rate increases, and authorize 289 full-time equivalent positions. We recommend approval and stand for questions.
Any questions?
One question, I make a motion that we accept the resolution 20 as presented to us.
Madam Chair, before we you move forward, can we, I think we've got Director Van Meter on, can we just get an audio check so that if she wants to participate?
Oh, so she's gonna
Yeah,
be
so
by
she can-
phone.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's okay. She has all.
Hello.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you for going to all this trouble. I've been trying for 45 minutes.
Okay, well, we have just had the presentation on the budget, and we're to the point of Manny has made a motion that we adopt the 2021 budget.
But I've had the budget on the screen, so I've been going with you with that.
Oh, okay. Okay,
just
so
didn't
you
have
got
audio.
us visually, you just don't have us to hear us.
Exactly.
Oh, perfect. Well, that'll work fine then. So you know that Manny just moved that we adopt the budget. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we'll move on to item H. And we have no item H. We have no old business. We have one item of new business.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have resolution number 20-02, which is for the 7th Amendment to KUA's commercial paper program for the extension of the note purchase agreement with JP Morgan. And Kevin's gonna provide us a little more detail.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, some background on this briefly. This program was really started in fiscal year 2000 to fund the Cane Island 3 project. This is some residual commercial paper that's been outstanding for quite a while. The decision was made at that time to keep the commercial paper out as opposed to fixing it out. It's a flexible variable rate debt instrument that provides us the opportunity to acquire liquidity if we need it in fairly short notice. The current balance of that is $38.2 million. It does provide liquidity support through JP Morgan, and that's what we're bringing you today. They are the bank that has provided and continues to provide both liquidity and remarketing support for this instrument. This commercial paper program, just for reference, has saved KUA and its ratepayers about $29.5 million compared to having issued fixed debt over the same period of time. So again, it's a good instrument to have in the portfolio. It does provide us some flexibility. And so we want to recommend to the board that we extend this liquidity support provided through JP Morgan for another 18 months. The reason we're going to a little bit shorter tenure with this, to give you an idea, this is a few basis points higher, almost maybe 10 to 15 points higher than what we brought to you a couple of years ago, given the current market. And that's just strictly a function of where we are in the market. Liquidity is more expensive. You've watched the news, you've seen the newspapers. It's a little bit difficult through the tightening of liquidity markets. And so that's bumped up the rate. So we wanted to go a shorter term, just the opportunity to take advantage of markets if that loosens up within the next 18 months to 2 years. So we're renewing it about a 0.69. We've done some indicative pricing. That's a very competitive rate based on what we've seen in other markets for other liquidity instruments of this nature. Included in that also is 0.05% for the remarketing fee. This is the fee the bank charges us to put the paper into the market. And then finally, the last component is the 1.1%. That's what we pay investors who hold this paper. So you can see it's a relatively very affordable piece of debt instrument for us. And so we do recommend continuing to use this JP Morgan as a liquidity provider. And so total program cost of about 1.84% currently for this paper. And given that, and the fact that we have been in negotiation with them and they've agreed to extend this for 18 months, we do recommend to the KUA Board of Directors that they approve resolution, or that you approve resolution 20-02 and authorize the President and General Manager the authority to execute the 7th Amendment to the Commercial Paper Note Purchase Agreement.
Okay, any questions or comments? Then do I have a motion to accept this?
So move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Now staff reports.
Madam Chair, we have one staff report, and I believe Cindy Herrera is here and is going to provide us an update, departmental update on human resources.
Good afternoon. So nice to see more than just one. Not that I didn't miss or didn't disregard seeing Director Urbina last meeting, but it's definitely nice to get to see everybody. Hope Director Van Meter, you're doing well, and Mayor Alvarez, you're doing well as well. So I'm here to present to you the HR semi-annual report, highlighting some of the many areas housed in human resources. Previously, I've provided statistics and demographic information. This is going to be more just an informational overview. So I will continue here on this. Giving you an overview of our departmental organizational chart there, just so you can see that. I know you've seen it in all the budget presentations, but that's mine there. Safety. I wanted to highlight some of the areas that we've enhanced over in the past year. Some of it mainly due to COVID as well, unfortunately, but also fortunately because we have taken these measures. Some of the things that we're proud of in safety, our safety administrator does a great job, and some of the things that we've been involved in and like to promote is our awards that we've received. So FMEA, this is something that is, oops, I went too quick on that. Let me go back. Okay. That is awarded annually. And for the last 3 years in the category, we've received the third best safety record. And so what that is, it's calculating the number of exposure hours and divided by the recordables. So very important, and it's great to note that we do a great job. Safety is enhanced and it's embedded in our culture. We know what our workforce is up against on a daily basis out in the field and even inside. So administratively as well, everybody inside the organization has safety risks, and we all take measures to ensure that we do our best in that area. The RP3 APPA designation, that has been awarded to us the last 3 years. There's different components of that, but safety does play a big part. So I wanted to bring that forward and make sure you're aware of that. We're striving for that diamond. I know every year we work hard and want to get that diamond award, but we're glad to know that we're up there and getting that platinum award and everybody doing their part. So great to highlight that. As I mentioned, under the COVID-19, some of the enhanced training that we've done, online training, we've required all of our employees to do an online training of what's expected coming into the workforce, the phases, just reassuring everybody understands what we need to do to stay safe. We've had enhanced communication reminders. Probably everybody's seen the same, keep the 6 feet social distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands, but it is very important in keeping everybody healthy and safe. And procedures for testing. So mainly, most of y'all came in through the front door, but at all of our locations, employees are required to take their temperature. And we have these stations that are available at all work site buildings. So our Ken Davis building, our Lackey Davis building, our garage, substation maintenance, our Cane Island, everybody's equipped with what you can see there. They're the non-contact temperature thermometers, and all these are set up everywhere. And so we sent out communications procedures for that and understanding if you have a temperature higher than 104, 100.4, and what you need to do at that point. And just overall training. So educating, our safety administrator does monthly departmental meetings, mainly in our operational side of things, but other departments are involved in that. So this is done monthly, different topics to include PPE, proper protection equipment, fire safety, arc flash. So very, very detailed, involved departmental meetings that are conducted, monthly safety matter communication. So we have a safety matters and different topics that all the organization gets. Annual online driving. So we require all of our employees to do an online annual defensive driving course. So that's important, whether you drive a vehicle every day or maybe that one time that you need to use one of our fleet vehicles to go out to a conference or something, and then understanding the safety requirements with that. Any post-accident training. So heaven forbid we do have someone that's in an accident, our safety administrator does reach out, talk to them, walk through them, and then assign a different, a specific training that will help curtail that in the future and happening again. Of course, CPR, first aid, AED training, and then on-site inspections that are done. So just highlighting a few of the many things that again come together and bring safety in light for all of us. Financial wellness. So I know we hear about wellness on the health side of things, but financial wellness is also a big part of that. So retirement planning, services to educate and provide enhanced customer service to our employees. And some of the things that we do on-site workshops. Our pension administrator does these, and now Zoom meetings. Since you can't go out and have everybody and go out to our locations, one-on-one have been done through Zoom meetings. So we're making this still work in this environment. 457 plans allowing for pre-tax and post-tax options, making that available for our workforce. And something I'm proud of, we have a financial wellness program called the Participant Effect. And this has been in place for the last 5 years. It consists of an annual assessment I can say we each year have had a higher participation. We just went through this assessment through the month of May, and we had a 52 participation rate with our organization. So that was awesome to see that our employees were taking part and invested in their financial wellness. And from that, we will be setting up, actually coming in July, some on-site workshops with a financial advisor. This will be done by Zoom. We've done it normally in person, workshops and then one-on-ones. So this will now be done by Zoom. And we have an employee assistance program, or EAP, that financial resources that are available for our employees. Again, all housed under the financial wellness. Online administration. So as technology improves, and we like to take advantage of that, some of the things that this past year through NeoGov, this is a platform that houses everything online. And this past year, we did the Learn, which is the online training. So the training that you heard of, the defensive driving and all the requirements that we do, the post-accident, it is done through an online. So the employee can do it. Even the COVID, we did it through email online, and it confirmed that that person took it. You know, they have 10 days to take it, reminders. So we're really proud of utilizing and look forward to really taking advantage of this Learn system. Insight, which is the applicant tracking through government jobs.com. So many years, I guess, goodness, we used to have paper applications. So I remember when we would get about 800 applications, and they were like piled, and it was actually always under Susan's area customer service, and we'd have just piles and piles of all these paper applications, and then we moved to an online, and it was wonderful. We've now moved to Insight with this applicant tracking through NeoGov, and it comes with enhanced reporting, which again, we just launched this probably about 3 weeks ago. So we're working through it, but the functionality is definitely user-friendly on both ends. So the person applying and us as well as the employer. So the management will have it'll be a lot easier to go through the applications and reduce the timing on that. And again, the compliance reporting that is very important. And what we are in the process of doing now, implementation-wide, is our onboard. And this is a new hire administration. So right now, there's a lot of paperwork. I know HR and their paperwork, and you got to complete your W-4 and your I-9, and this when you're signing your life away. All this is going to be housed online. So it's going to increase or reduce the time that it takes for people to have to come and do this. They can do it at their home, again, online, submitting this information. We're just now starting that implementation process, but looking forward to what that brings. Risk management, also housed in HR, and what that is, or what that looks like on the insurance renewals. Again, not on just the health benefits, but identifying and assessing and mitigating risks. So our risk management administrator works very closely with procurement, with legal, with grant and safety. So a lot of different avenues that our risk management administrator has to deal with. And some of the main areas when it comes to insurance renewals are the automobile, workers' compensation, general liability, cyber liability, directors and officers, and property. And these are just some of the few that we have to, have insurance to use when you need it. This past year, earlier this year, we added the property coverage for Domingo Churro substation. That was earlier this year, and that alone added to $20 million to our property. So that's huge, totaling, I believe, was $145.5 million that we have just on property alone that we have insured, should something happen. And that was the picture there. This past year, we had a loss control survey and an inspection done with our GL, which is our general liability and worker comp carrier through Everest. And proud to say they come out every 3 years. They came out, found no recommendations for improvement. They look at our programs, everything that we have. So previously there was recommendations. Obviously we acted on those, and now can say that we had no recommendations that were provided to us based off this inspection. So proud in that area as well. Any questions?
Good job.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So we're now up to the interview section.
Yes, Madam Chair, we're scheduled to have the first interview at 4:30, although I've been notified that the first candidate is actually here. If we could take if you wanted to move forward, we could take a short recess while we get it set up.
Right. And we were going to mention that there's going to be a timer, and the interviewee will be clued in, or actually Brian will be clued in when it's getting close to the end of 15 minutes. And I'm sure we won't stay exactly on task. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know about y'all, but I wrote myself all kinds of notes on the papers we had. We need to take them away with us. Otherwise, if we leave them here, it would be considered we've shared them and they could become public record. And
Yes, ma'am.
mine are just for to make me think, oh, I want to ask this question or I want to do whatever. So,
Right, notes are not public records if they're not done to perpetuate knowledge, and that does not sound like it's perpetuating.
right, no,
But if you share it with one employee or with one employee, it becomes a public record.
right. So we'll just take them away if we've written all over them. So we want to take a break till maybe 10 after? Okay.
I'll go get him. He's gonna be right there.
He's gonna be right.
Looking at your mask.
Care
Care Plus? I had to call them. For a Medicare client. Yeah. They were getting.
Yeah.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Okay. You want me to bring it up 8 notch? So sound check, test 1, 2, test 1, 2, sound check. A little low. We'll come up some. All right, sound check, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Yeah. I think it does better when you're right on it.
Now we'll be back in session. And I was going to say one thing
Sure.
before we went on.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Henry and I have the same last name. And his great-grandfather is my grandfather. Now, of course, I know Henry. I probably see him twice a year at Christmas and Easter or something like that, or a funeral or a wedding. But I was going to not vote. But in talking to Grant, I found out that's not possible, and I'll let Grant explain that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for trying to do what you felt was the right thing in the situation. But under Florida statutes, a board member has to vote unless they have a legally defined conflict. And in terms of the conflict of interest laws, relatives do not include people beyond the immediate family. So under Florida law, you're affirmatively required to vote on this candidacy. You can't recuse yourself, but appreciate the desire.
So,
Kathleen,
yes,
since I'm not there, I think I'll just listen to the questions and answers and not participate in the questions.
okay. And when we get to the point of us asking questions, I'm going to ask board members if they have a question. Some of them we've got a pretty thorough list of questions, so
Right.
several people may not want to have a question, but I'll just not ask you every time.
That's right. I'm very happy with my leg up here on the couch.
Okay,
So Madam Chair, it's my pleasure to introduce to you board candidate nominee, Henry Thacker.
Welcome, Mr.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to thank you for your interest in wanting to serve our community as a member of this board. I'd like to take a brief moment real quick to introduce you to our board, beginning with our chairman, Kathleen Thacker, who you know, our vice chair, Ethel Urbina.
Hi.
There.
Our secretary, Manny Ortega, assistant secretary, Ray Hemphill. And on Zoom, we've got Director Jenny Van Meter, and
Hello.
and Mayor Jose Alvarez.
Hey, Henry.
Hey there, Mayor Alvarez, how's it going?
Good, sir.
Mr. Thacker, we've allotted 15 minutes for your interview and have a series of questions for you. We ask you to be concise while fully answering the questions. But before we begin, do you have any questions for us?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Thacker, please detail any education, professional, and management experience which could enhance your effectiveness as a KUA board member.
I went to the University of Florida, obtained a bachelor's in construction management and a minor in business administration. From there, I joined the commercial construction industry out of school. Since then, I've become a project manager of such a company. And what I do on a daily basis is I'm managing budgets, I'm managing people, logistics, safety, all kinds of different things for the project. Basically, I'm the guy on site from the money side, and it all kind of stops at me. And then my counterpart from a superintendent, kind of the site side of building things, kind of stops with him. And then together as a team, we build a successful project on time, under budget.
Thank you. Tell us about any prior board experience you have had and include any offices that you've held.
Awesome. I'm very passionate about giving back to Osceola County, born and raised here. Some of the boards I'm currently on, Osceola Arts, which I know Brandon Arrington did a presentation to the board a couple of meetings ago. Thank you all for your support. Currently, I am serving as chair of that board. Young professionals of the Kissimmee Osceola Chamber. I'm currently on that board serving as treasurer. Kissimmee Board of Adjustments, Osceola Library Advisory Board, no position on those. And then Silver Spurs Club, I am on the financial committee. And then ACE Mentoring, I've been, which is a high school mentoring during school session. I have been a lead mentor for the Osceola County location.
Mr. Thacker, based on the materials provided to you, please explain your understanding of the duties of a KUA board member.
To me, it's to serve the community and to assist and guide staff in a way to better incorporate the mission statement. I love that y'all's mission statement has partnering with the community. I think it's so important, and I don't think there's a utility company that does it better. At least I haven't seen it in Central Florida. The amount of energy, time spent giving back, I think is vital. And I think it only betters people around us. From there, not from the community side, but from the financial side, it's important that while we're serving community in generosity ways, but we're also managing their money. $230 million budget. It's a lot of money, and it's board members' responsibility to just oversee staff, make sure it's going wisely. Staff here, I think, does an incredible job. So it's usually not a hard position, but oversight's always a good thing as well. From there, just a second, sorry about that. From there, just again, looking into different innovations, making sure that the community knows what we're doing, which I know KUA, I always am very proud and always mention KUA on all the different boards I am of the outreach and social media that KUA does. I think it's top notch. I always say to the other boards I'm on that marketing is the hardest thing to get through in this community. And I always reference, look at KUA's outreach, look at how they communicate to the community. And I think just providing those steps, giving the feedback to staff on what the community is seeing, what it needs, is an important part of serving as a board of directors.
Thank you. Please describe any conflict of interest, actual or potential, that could interfere with your service on the board.
Potential, I guess, would be being in the construction industry, maybe. Commercial construction, having to deal with new services, new transformers, so on and so forth. But I don't think it'd be a large conflict of interest, if any. But I think that would kind of be the only possible item.
This is a non-paid position, but time required to successfully fulfill board member duties can be extensive and could exceed 30 days a year. You would be expected to be available for day or night meetings, training, and workshops. Responsibilities could also include out-of-state travel to attend conferences and legislative rallies. Based on the information, would you be able to complete this 5-year term?
Absolutely. Obviously, time is the hardest thing to get more of, and I understand that's being very busy on different boards as well as a very active career. But knowing that my company has full support, I have full support from my company to join these boards, to join outreaches, to get involved in the community. So I would definitely be able to fulfill roles and responsibilities of being a board member.
Do you have any plans to seek elected office within the next 5 years? And if you decide to seek such office, would you now agree that when you announce your intention to run, you would resign from the KUA board, even if not required by law?
I would agree to that right now, yes. I have no intention in the next 5 years, but if something were to change, yes, I would resign after announcing a candidacy.
Would you be willing to complete and file a state-required public financial disclosure form, which was provided to you previously? Have you had to file one? And if so, have you had to file one in the past?
I would be willing to file one, provide one. I know for the City Kissimmee Board of Adjustments, I file a Form 1. I'm not sure if that's the same form or not, but I do file that form each year.
Same one.
Okay.
Can you, Mr. Thackert, explain your understanding of the Florida Sunshine Law?
Florida Sunshine Law is, my understanding is if you're on a board, there's no talking to the other board members outside of a public hearing, so that all business is done during board meetings, during public hearings, so on and so forth. So there is no, I don't even know the right word, nothing going on behind the scenes, basically, nothing fishy, sketchy, I don't know the right word, but understanding that I know you can communicate with the board members, but obviously outside of this, but obviously no, we're never talking about work or subjects that are coming before the board. Close?
Yeah. There you go.
As a member of this board, you represent KUA customers and would be responsible for making policy decisions on their behalf. Please describe for us how you are most comfortable in gathering information to make decisions.
From other community members? With being on a lot of different boards, I'm obviously interacting with a large amount of the community already. We usually always, at the end of the meeting, share comments before adjournment, talking about things, what needs, what wants are out there. So that's obviously a great first start, being involved with those, with other leaders in the community. After that, obviously just listen to anybody. With KUA, especially having all these outreach events, being whether it be the monthly movie in the park or so on, that's a great time to probably meet people that you don't talk to on a daily basis, get feedback, and understand what might not be in the same circle that you always are in. Get outside of your circle and understand feedback from them as well. Everyone matters, and it's hard to talk to everybody, but the more you try, the more you'll hear.
Thank you. Describe a situation where your opinions have differed from those of others. How did you work through those differences and reach consensus?
That's a daily activity for me. The key is listening. Everyone has an opinion, and there's a reason for that opinion. It's usually, and it's not right. It's usually not right or wrong. Sometimes it could be, but most of the time they have a reason for wanting that. So it starts with listening. From there, a open, honest, and non-aggressive conversation with that individual or a group of individuals, understanding what they want, giving your feedback, why you think of something else. And to be honest with you, usually land somewhere in the middle. Usually there's a fine line of yeah, I was right on this thing, but you were right on that thing. Let's meet right in the middle. Let's go. Doesn't always happen that way, obviously. There's never reason for aggression, in my opinion. It doesn't get you anywhere. So in my opinion, it's communication, openly, friendly, and just work through the issue. There's no reason to leave something undone either. So work through it, and find where everyone can be satisfied.
How do you think the general public perceives the level of service that KUA provides? And do you believe the general public feels that KUA's rates are fair?
I do. I think everyone complains about every tax or bill or anything else they have, but I do think they're fair. And I think KUA does a great job managing those rates. I think from the public opinion, from what I see, KUA, with how much they give back to the community, with how much they are willing to help with the customer service that y'all provide. I have a really short story, sorry. I called a couple months. As soon as COVID started, I started working from home. I was looking up, I saw a power line, trees all in it. I was like, oh, hurricane season's coming. Someone told me that KUA comes and cuts your trees. I was like, oh, really? So I went online, I found it, I do. Next day, KUA was out there. I mean, service like that is, you can't find that, at least not in my industry. If I need someone to come on site to do something, it's, okay, I'll be there next week. Okay, this. So in my opinion, KUA in all aspects of community service and customer service, it is a service industry. This is a service industry, and service here is top notch. And I'd love to be part of it to continue that, and provide guidance to keep it top notch and excel even more.
Even though KUA is an independent authority, do you have any concern that a portion of the revenue is distributed to the city of Kissimmee?
I do not have any concern about that, no, sir.
As a board member, you could receive complaints from customers or employees. How would you handle such situations? Also, as a public official, you could receive public scrutiny or criticism of your actions or decisions. How do you feel you would react to such scrutiny or criticism?
obviously no one likes to be criticized, but it wouldn't be the first time. Again, I deal with that on a daily basis, being in a little rougher of an industry. So it's something nobody likes, but I'm used to it. And what I would do if I was confronted with that is I would first listen to the complaint, and then if I could, I would educate. And then if there was still they were still not satisfied, and I didn't know any more of the answers, I would myself come get educated with staff here and then report back to that individual.
Why do you want to serve on the board, and what contributions do you feel that you can make to KUA? Please describe any goals that you would like to implement while you are on the board.
I'd love to serve KUA because I love giving back to this community. I came back here after school because I wanted to be here. It is where my family's been forever, and I want to make this community as strong as it can be. What I could bring to the board, I have a very budgetary mindset. I know y'all just approved the budget tonight. I love getting into those details. Some of my boards that I'm on, they kind of criticize me a little too much for getting too in the weeds sometimes, but I think it's very important that we see where everything is coming and going from. From there, I probably bring a little different view from the board, just from being able to outreach to maybe the younger, not taking any offense there, the youth community in Osceola County. Just like I said, a different circle to be able to report back to. I think I'm over time, I think is what that meant.
Do you have any comments or questions for the board?
No, just I appreciate the invite to come present and interview in front of y'all, and I hope y'all recommend me to the city of Kissimmee.
And do any of y'all have any additional questions?
I got
Yes,
one.
Manny?
It's a two-part question. I noticed that, and you mentioned that you sit on numerous boards. How often do you meet with these boards? And second part, is there any conflict with the KUA board meetings timeframes?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So it depends on the board. Osceola Arts is monthly. Young Professionals is monthly, other than different events. Advisory board for the Kissimmee, the adjustments is when needed. Usually it's not needed often. Library board's once a quarter, ACE is twice a month, and Silver Spurs is bi-monthly, and none of them do conflict with the KUA time slot.
Thank you.
Any other?
No question.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much. Sorry
Thank you.
that I'm wearing a mask and can't see my face, but that's the time we're in.
Well, and I should have said, and I will say to the other people, feel free to take it off. I didn't think till you got started,
No,
and
not
I
at
hated
all.
to interrupt.
Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Oh, I didn't ask him if he had any questions.
He would have said.
Is it?
He would have said something. Right, Jose?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll forget you the next time too, but if you have a question, just jump in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And could you hear him okay at home?
I can.
Good deal. Okay, then we've got the mic okay.
Little ahead of schedule. Mr. Rodriguez is not here yet.
Okay.
Better to be ahead of schedule than behind.
I don't have, when I came in front of the board, I don't remember. I don't know how to answer these questions. But that wasn't from around here.
Anybody there? Hello?
Go ahead, speak.
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Our 4:45 appointment has not arrived yet, but our 5 o'clock appointment has. So we will wait till 4:45 and then either go ahead with the 5 o'clock or if the 4:45 is here by then, we'll do that one. But we'll let you know who we're interviewing.
Thank you.
See, it takes 2 minutes to go and 2 to come back.
Ladies and gentlemen of the KUA Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to present to you KUA Board Director candidate Michael Keurig.
Hello, Michael.
Hello.
And for the record, I will say that we, the person scheduled to be interviewed at 4:45
Mr. Carlos Rodriguez.
was not here, so we have gone on to our 5 o'clock appointment. And we're all gonna figure that we are socially distanced, and if you're comfortable, feel free to take off your
Thank you.
face covering. Okay, Brian?
Good afternoon, Ms. Keurig. I'm Brian Horton, President and General.
Good afternoon.
And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your interest in serving our community as a member of the board. I'd like to take a brief moment to introduce you to our board, beginning with our chairman, Kathleen Thacker.
Hi.
Our vice chair, Ethel Urbina.
Hi, how are you?
Our secretary, Manny Ortega. Assistant Secretary, Ray Hemphill. And via Zoom, we've got Director Jeannie Van Meter
Hello.
and the mayor of Kissimmee, Jose Alvarez.
Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
Mr. Keurig, we've allotted 15 minutes for your interview and have a series of questions for you so that we ask that you be concise while fully answering the questions.
Okay.
Before we begin, do you have any questions for this board?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, first question. Please detail any education, professional, and management experience which could enhance your effectiveness as a KUA board member.
So I have a bachelor's and master's degree from Stetson University in DeLand in accounting. I was a auditor with a CPA firm, Purvis Grant Company, for 10 years right after college. And I progressed in that firm from a staff accountant basically to like a senior staff / type manager, where I was managing most of the audits that I was on. And those audits ranged from, you know, 1 other staff person to 5 or 6 other staff people. I presented the findings to commissioners and board members. And then I switched over to the governmental side, and I started in 2010 at Osceola County in the comptroller's office. And I was basically like the second in command there, the accounting and financial reporting manager. And when the comptroller left, I applied and got the comptroller position at Osceola County. So I was responsible for a department of roughly 22 or 23 staff and a budget, the departmental staff of $1.5 million. But I was also responsible for the entire finances of the county, meaning all investments, all debt service, you know, that sort of stuff. So I worked hand in hand with other directors in the county. And then in 2017, I went back to private it was called RW Block Consulting, and now it's called Answer Advisory. And we do capital management, consulting type work. So we do everything from the capital improvement plan all the way through, which my team does right now currently, which I have a staff of 12 people. We do invoice reviews of all construction projects. My client right now is GOA, the Greater Orlando Airport Authority. And so we're helping them with their $3 billion South Terminal project. We're reviewing all the invoices on that, all the capital invoices on that.
Tell us about any prior board experience that you have had and include any offices that you've held.
So when I was with the county, I was on a part of different boards. The Central Florida Expressway Authority, I was part of their finance committee. And for Workforce Central Florida, I was part of their audit committee. And let me see. Oh, Links.
I was part of their finance committee too. So each county that was part of Lynx, or each county that was affected by Central Florida Expressway Authority, had a member on, like, they had a finance committee or an audit committee, and I was on those three committees.
Based on the materials provided to you, please explain your understanding of the duties of a KUA board member.
So basically, to hear from staff and vote on things that come in front of us, set the policy for the entity as a whole, and I guess report to the city, because KUA is part of the city of Kissimmee.
Please describe any conflict of interest, actual or potential, that could interfere with your service on the board.
I mean, I know Purvis Gray, which was one of my previous employers, is the current auditor for KUA, but I left on good terms, and I mean, that was back in March of 2010, so I don't think I have any conflicts of interest.
This is a non-paid position, but time required to successfully fulfill board member duties can be extensive and could exceed 30 days a year. You would be expected to be available for day or night meetings, trainings, and workshops. Responsibilities could also include out-of-state travel to attend conferences and legislative rallies. Based on this information, would you be able to complete this 5-year term?
Yes, I would. I've already spoken to my supervisor about it. I have plenty of, PTO saved up if I needed to take that. I mean, because of the situation we're in, with COVID, I'm actually working from home. My regular office is in Baldwin Park, so it's, like 30, 40-minute drive. I actually live like maybe 3 minutes from here. So I definitely have the commitment to be able to fulfill the duties.
Mr. Keurig, do you have any plans to seek elected office within the next 5 years? And if you decide to seek such office, would you now agree that when you announce your intention to run, you would resign from the KUA board, even if not required by law?
So, well, number one, yes, I would, but I have no plans. I'm actually pretty quiet and shy, so I don't think I'm a very good politician. Nor would I want to put myself out there,
Very good. Okay. Would you be willing to complete and file a state-required public financial disclosure form, which was provided to you previously? And have you filed one? If so, have you filed one in the past?
I would, and I have. As the comptroller, I was required to do that.
Can you explain for us your understanding of the Florida Sunshine Law?
So I do have, working in government, so I do have some knowledge of that. I mean, I know you can't communicate with another board director on a matter that could potentially come to the board, for a decision outside of a noticed meeting, basically. So, and you have to do your due diligence. So if you're, I don't know, whatever, at a party or at a bar and you see someone, that's another board member, you're at a restaurant or something, you're not supposed to really start a conversation with that person, especially because it could just be the appearance of that impropriety.
As a member of this board, you represent KUA customers and would be responsible for making policy decisions on their behalf. Please describe for us how you are most comfortable in gathering information to make decisions.
Well, I mean, I would rely on staff, basically. through whatever weekly meetings for stuff that comes to the board. I mean, I know when I was like at the county, you know, there would be like pre-agenda type meetings to go over, you know, what was coming before the board, departmental meetings to brief like commissioners or board members. So I would rely on that sort of information to base my decision.
Describe a situation where your opinions have differed from others. How did you work through those differences and reach consensus?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to just listen, you know, to understand their point of view, to understand, you know, to try to, you know, it's that empathy, you know, try to see it from their standpoint, and then talk through it. I mean, you should be able to talk through anything and figure out, well, what part of an issue do we agree on and what part of the issue we don't agree on and why, you know, and is there a middle ground for that particular issue?
How do you think the general public perceives the level of service that KUA provides? Do you believe that the general public feels that KUA's rates are fair?
So I don't have a lot of knowledge about, I've never heard it one way or the other, you know, good or bad, about KUA, you know. I mean, I've heard, I'm in a couple like Facebook groups, you know, so I see postings all the time about, you know, the county government or the city government, but I've never heard anything good or bad in relation to KUA. I mean, you know, we're customers, so we don't have anything bad. You know, when I moved here, I moved to an apartment, so I had my own account. Now I'm under my wife's account, you know, we're married. And I thought the rates were, I mean, to tell you the truth, very good. You know, I mean, my bill, you know, I mean, it was a 1-bedroom apartment, was probably $80 or something like that, you know. So, I mean, I've never heard anything bad about the rates or the entity as a whole.
Even though KUA is an independent authority, do you have any concern that a portion of the revenue is distributed to the city of Kissimmee?
No, I mean, you know, being an auditor, I did have experiences auditing other, you know, governmental utilities, and all of them always transferred funds to the general fund. I mean, it's just, it's kind of the risk reward. I mean, the city is taking on the risk of providing the power, and so it's providing its citizens the reward of taking some of those funds that are you know, generated each year to help offset taxes and fees and other costs at the city level. So no, I do not.
As a board member, you could receive complaints from customers or employees. How would you handle such situations? Also, as a public official, you could receive public scrutiny or criticism for your actions or decisions. Describe how you would feel. Describe how you feel you would react to such scrutiny or criticism.
I mean, I don't ever take anything personally from that standpoint, but I would definitely forward anything that I get that's more of like a complaint or an issue to staff. Well, probably to you, and then you can, you know, to whoever staff you think it should go through you.
Why do you want to serve on the board, and what contributions do you feel you could make to KUA? Please describe any goals that you would like to implement while you are on the board.
I just like helping and serving. You know, I volunteer at my church. You know, we do, I say quarterly because we only do it probably like 4 or 5 times a year, like Habitat for Humanity. And that I love, every day that we do that, those 4 or 5 days. So I just enjoy, plus I feel that I have, knowledge and skills that, I can share and for free, I mean, it's not, I mean, it's just my time. I mean, that, I don't know about like goals or accomplishments to, that I would have, that I would want to accomplish. I mean, I think the entity is being run well. So, just to continue that, I guess, legacy.
Mr. Keurig, do you have any comments or questions for this board?
I only had a chance to watch the last board meeting, June. So, and from my time at the county, I kind of, I was in the audience for every one of those commission meetings because I was a director. So I kind of know what to expect, but I don't think I have any questions right now.
And do any of y'all have questions?
Just one quick one. Have you ever sat on any nonprofit organization boards?
So for the church, I'm on the trustee board. So that is responsible for all the physical of the church, so the church premises.
And I've got a question kind of along that line. The boards that you've sat on, were they policy-making boards or actual operations boards? Day-to-day?
Well, they were more like advisory boards. I mean, they didn't
Okay.
set policy.
Because that's our only job, is setting policy. We're not here to do kind of day-to-day operations. You're going to know so much more about all the budgeting things that the policy of the budget, you're going to be well equipped to deal with, but we don't get into the operations of the budget or whatever, if that makes any sense.
Right.
There is a line there between policymaking and day-to-day operations.
Right.
Just a quick question. What do you think will be your biggest contribution to KUA?
I mean, just if staff has an issue, just my perspective, my knowledge, I mean, I know the board sets the policy, the board, votes on contracts, they set the rates. So just my knowledge in those types of areas, to bring that different perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your time
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
and are really glad you applied.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't remember to ask them.
Thank you.
I was supposed to go up and down the stairs to warm up now. Go ahead. Jeez.
Use the back stairs.
Yeah, my hands are beginning. Yeah, a little bit. Oh.
Ask can we split the difference of where we were and where we are? Going forward?
Probably about a degree.
It's probably not that much.
So who's coming up?
Marie Jean. Did I say that right?
Baptiste, probably not.
We had to do this yesterday.
Baptiste. Baptiste. It would be more or less French.
It's
I would
French.
think, yeah.
So we don't have Crystal Harris?
No, she withdrew from consideration.
Oh, she's the one that withdrew. Okay, all right.
Yes. It's so funny when they started talking, because it's like a voice coming from the heavens. So you two need to know that when you say something, it's like, oh God, where is that voice?
Ladies and gentlemen of the KUA Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to present to you Board Directors candidate Marie Jean Baptiste. Ms. Baptiste, if you please see her.
And if you're comfortable, you can take off your mask. We're positioned so we're socially distanced, so.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
Brian Horton, President and General Manager of the utility. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your interest in wanting to serve our community as a member of this board. I'd like to introduce the board to you, beginning with our chairman, Kathleen Thacker.
Hi.
Hi.
Our vice chair, Ethel Urbina.
Hi.
Secretary Manny Ortega. Assistant Secretary Ray Hemphill. And on Zoom, we've got Director Jeannie Van Meter and City of Kissimmee Mayor Jose Alvarez.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, Ms. Baptiste, we have allotted 15 minutes for your interview and have a series of questions for you. So we ask that you be concise while fully answering the questions. But before we begin, do you have any questions for this board?
No. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Please detail any education, professional, and management experience which could enhance your effectiveness as a KUA board member.
I start my career of management since back 2013, as I was leading a store that's not here from International. I was a shoe buyer in the Georgia area, buying shoes to send to International. Then from my way up, I worked to different company, mostly retail, where I serve people.
Can you tell us about any prior board experience you have had and include any offices that you've held?
No, I don't have no experience on a board, like such this board, but as a manager, I worked for an Italian store where I manage people. I think serving people, it's what I will call myself as a giver. So I see myself open-minded to help and then be part of such an amazing group.
Based on the materials provided to you, please explain your understanding of the duties of a KUA board member.
As a board member, I think I am here to serve the community of Kissimmee, helping as effectively and efficiently what being asked of me.
Please describe any conflict of interest, actual or potential, that could interfere with your service on the board.
As of now or in the future, not at all. I am solely a retail person who dealing with scarves and clothes and fabrics. I don't see any potential.
This is a non-paid position, but time required to successfully fulfill board member duties can be extensive and could exceed 30 days a year. You would be expected to be available for day or night meetings, training, and workshops. Responsibilities could also include out-of-state travel to attend conferences and legislative rallies. Based on this information, would you be able to complete this 5-year term?
With what willing to me or up to the Lord, I believe I could. I am a single parent, but my kids are at age where I can travel and I can commit to that commitment.
Do you have any plans to seek elected office within the next 5 years? And if you decide to seek such office, would you now agree that when you announce your intention to run, you would resign from the KUA board if not required by law?
Not at all to be any part on politics. I just want to be a simple citizen who serve my country.
Would you be willing to complete and file a state-required public financial disclosure form, which was provided to you previously? And have you had to file one in the past?
No, I don't file any. I work and I have a W-2 forms, that's all.
But would you be willing to?
I will.
Explain your understanding of the Florida Sunshine Law.
I have been residing in Florida all my more than 20 years, I want to say. I want to think this is the only state I lived. As a child of immigrants, I've been in this state for all my life, including my parents. I understand the laws and I understand as citizen my duties as well. This is why I am here to put my candidacy just to serve. I hope I answered the questions. Oh.
Counselor, do you want to help me?
Sure. The Florida, we are wondering your understanding of the Florida Sunshine Law in terms of a governing board like this, how it, what are board members allowed to do outside a public meeting in terms of speaking to each other about KUA business and things like that.
And it's okay if you don't.
It's okay if you don't.
Lots of times people have never heard of it, so.
Yeah, I probably need a little bit more research on that.
That's a perfectly fine answer.
As a member of this board, you would represent KUA customers and would be responsible for making policy decisions on their behalf. Please describe for us how you are most comfortable in gathering information to make decisions.
Researching. I am an extroverted person. I can start a conversation with the most foreign people I can tell. Also, speaking different language may be very helpful for this board since I can touch mostly a large amount of customers. I believe I am very comfortable on researching and talking to people to get the information I need.
Describe a situation where your opinions have differed from those of others. How did you work through those differences and reach consensus?
I believe everybody must be heard. Opinions can be different. It's my attitude, that's how I accept others. I believe you have the right to speak and I have also the right to speak, but we need to find a common ground because we on the same cause or we're fighting the same battles.
How do you think the general public perceives the level of service that KUA provides? Do you believe the general public feels that KUA's rates are fair?
As a customer of KUA, I think it's fair, and I think it's a most needed service we provide. Well, there will be always room for improvement, and I think that's where I come in to make customers understand more the level of service we provide.
Even though KUA is an independent authority, do you have any concern that a portion of the revenues is distributed to the city of Kissimmee?
Not at all.
As a board member, you could receive complaints from customers or employees. How would you handle such situations? Also, as a public official, you could receive public scrutiny or criticism for your actions or decisions. Describe how you feel you would react to such scrutiny or criticism.
There is one thing I believe. People can criticize you, but making their opinion not ever true, that is what is important. And the way you react to criticism, it's play a whole part on your days. So I do believe when you accept a public job, you on the face or on the spotlight, but the way you react and your actions will determine your behavior. So I believe to serve as fair, as liable and credible. So even if people has to criticize me, I can take the criticism to see the good and the bad out of it, because it's not every time a criticism is bad, it's not every time it's true. So what I made of it, it's what's gonna serve the city to be better.
Why do you want to serve on the board, and what contributions do you feel you could make to KUA? Please describe any goals that you would like to implement while you are on the board.
I choose to serve for, the first thing is, I just finished my degree in healthcare, and I believe I can use some of my talent and knowledge to help. First of all, as a person who speaks many languages, French is my primary language, but I also speak Creole, which is my parents' language. I born in Haiti. And I also speak Spanish. So I believe I can help on many facets, helping KUA accomplish that goal, serve the community in a better way, provide efficient light. 3 years ago, I come moving on this area. I built my house here. I see the difference between the time I live in an apartment, how the utility bill coming so high, and the difference on the house. I believe there are changes that can come, and I can share some lights and share some of my goals, like dreams, how we can serve the community on a efficiency and efficacy levels of getting them to pay the amount of money they pay for a more efficient, like an energy clean and efficient way.
Do you have any comments or questions for this board?
I will be happy to know when the results are coming, and then it will be my pleasure to roll my sleeves and serve.
I missed.
Want to know when the results?
When the result of
decisions
the
made.
decisions made, and then it will be my honor to serve. I don't have a question at this point.
Okay.
I think you'll be notified yet tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
And it will be up to the city to make the final decisions. So recommendations will be made to the city where there would be a second interview, and then the city would decide from the recommendation. So
The city's slated to take this matter up next Tuesday.
okay. Any questions? Yes, Ray.
You stated that you'd not participated on any boards. Have you provided any volunteer activities to any organizations?
I used to, when I used to live in Tampa. Coming down here, I wanna say the only thing we do right now, I help with the Feeding America. That's the only thing I do so far, and pretty much it. that's why I'm looking for something to do and helping.
Thank you.
My question was along the lines of yours. Anything, Ethel?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Yes.
No, I'm asking if the people on Zoom.
Oh, you people on Zoom, any questions?
These people on Zoom don't have-
Okay, thank you. At least they reminded me to ask you this time. Thank you very much for your time and for your application. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.
How do you pronounce her name?
Which one is coming now?
Kathleen?
Or Cruz?
Crystal?
Cruz.
He goes by Cat.
Yeah, I can get the cruise part, but I wasn't sure the first name.
What?
Kathleen?
Okay,
I would say
Cruz
that's
is nice.
Catalina.
Okay.
She goes by Cat, so.
Okay, yeah. Wrong one out. And question number 2 is gonna have to be modified.
Which one?
12, in the future, we can't do it this time, but
Cat Cruz sounds like.
And that one's been in there historically forever, and I don't think anybody has ever said, yeah, I'm really concerned.
the thing is, it should be something like, we're an independent, but we're owned by the city, and as a result, at the end of the year, we contribute so much money to the city.
Thank you, guys.
You know,
And I don't expect them to know enough to agree or not agree.
Sometimes you gotta give them a little information. Okay.
You guys will be surprised what some people have answered to that question.
Yeah.
If he can turn his.
Okay, so are we all ready then for our next person? There we are. Oh, she's not here yet. Well, and that's okay
Sorry to
because
disappoint you.
it's still 6 minutes.
And Rodriguez is not here either?
No. No, Rodriguez is not here.
So I guess Michael was very early.
Yeah.
Michael was invited early. He was put into the slot.
I know, but I'm saying he came real early to be able to use that spot.
Who all have we heard from now?
Henry, Michael Keurig, and Marie Jean Baptiste. And
What am I?
and one other person, Carlos was not here, Crystal withdrew, and Kat Cruz was not here.
So we just have Raymond Sanchez to interview?
That's all.
Unless the other one shows up, yeah.
Unless the other two come.
Well.
And when we're done with this,
At what point do they show up? Do we interview them? I mean.
well, when we're done with this one, we'll figure out what we're doing. We'll have a discussion of what, if somebody's here, that's different. If nobody's here, then we'll figure out how we're gonna handle the fact that they weren't.
Well, I definitely will have something to say about that, I think.
Yep.
I think we will.
We'll have.
Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the KUA Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to present to you KUA Board Director candidate Raymond.
Hello.
Sir, if you take a seat over here, please. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. And we've got social distancing in place, so if you want to, feel free to take off your mask.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
They say it's the new normal.
It is. Okay, Brian.
Mr. Sanchez, I'm Brian Horton, President and General Manager of the utility. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your interest in serving our community as a member of this board. I'd like to introduce you to the board, beginning with our chair, Kathleen Thacker.
Hi.
Good evening.
Our vice chair, Ethel Urbina.
Good evening.
Hi.
Our secretary, Manny Ortega. Assistant Secretary, Ray Hemphill. And on Zoom, we've got Director Jeannie Van Meter.
Hello.
And City of Kissimmee Mayor Jose Alvarez.
Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Sanchez, we've allotted 15 minutes for your interview and have a series of questions for you. So we ask that you be concise while fully answering the questions. But before we begin, do you have any questions for this board?
Not at the moment, no.
Well, first question, please detail any education, professional, and management experience which could enhance your effectiveness as a KUA board member.
All right, quick background on myself. I have an associate's science degree in surgical technology, which is my given profession. I currently work at Osceola Regional Level 2 Trauma Center right down the road. I've been there for approximately 10 years. I'm currently the lead trauma coordinator for the operating room. I've been a surgical tech for 13 years. I've just been there for about 10 years, worked all over. I've also belonged to a fraternal organization. I've been a leader of that organization just last year, and I was an officer of that organization for 8 years running. That's about it.
Well, this next question, I think you may have touched on it just at the end there, but it's tell us about any prior board experience that you've had and include any offices that you've held.
Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned, I'm a member of a fraternal organization here in town. I've been a part of committees of that group in my tenure there. Budgeting and all that was my responsibility during my tenure there.
Based on the materials provided to you, please explain your understanding of the duties of a KUA board member.
I've downloaded the requirements off of the KUA website, including the bylaws and everything that's been set forth. I am to understand it includes about budgetary actions, policies, and there's a lot of training involved as well. And it's once a month, first Wednesday meetings on top of events and everything else, time requirement wise, I've noticed.
Please describe any conflict of interest, actual or potential, that could interfere with your service on the board.
I don't know of any.
Mr. Sanchez, this is a non-paid position, but time required to successfully fulfill board member duties can be extensive and could exceed 30 days a year. You would be expected to be available for day or night meetings, trainings, and workshops. Responsibilities could also include out-of-town travel to attend conferences and legislative rallies. Based on this information, would you be able to complete this 5-year term?
With my current profession, absolutely. There may be times, working in a hospital, especially the operating room setting, there may be times where my schedules may conflict, but I have the support of my current director. That being said, I'm also in transition of possibly a new position, and I've already spoke to my new boss about what I'm going through since this was already in play. And he just wanted me to bring information to him, and he would more than likely allow me the time. In fact, on your website, it even has a timeline of what to expect as a board member by the hours, days, so on and so forth. I actually gave my new boss a copy of that, so he had that for his records.
Mr. Sanchez, do you have any plans to seek elected office within the next 5 years? And if you decide to seek such office, would you now agree that when you announce your intention to run, you would resign from the KUA board, even if not required by law?
I don't think my wife would allow me to, but if it ever did happen in the future, yes, I would abide by that, but I don't think it's gonna be a possibility for me with my wife.
Okay. Would you be willing to complete and file a state-required public financial disclosure form, which was provided to you previously, and have you filled out one in the past?
I have not filled out one in the past, but I would fill one out if need be.
Mr. Sanchez, can you explain your understanding of the Florida Sunshine Law?
I am not familiar with that law.
As a member of this board, you represent KUA customers and would be responsible for making policy decisions on their behalf. Please describe for us how you are most comfortable in gathering information to make decisions.
Talking to the people of the city of Kissimmee, I've been a resident here since 1992, just after Hurricane Andrew destroyed our house in Homestead. And since I basically grew up here and we've always been in the Kissimmee area, it's all I know. And no one knows more than the customers themselves. And I have to hand it to you guys. Everything that's been thrown at our city, I was here for the tornadoes in 1998. KUA has always been there doing a great job. And the optics alone of just being there with the people, that speaks volumes to me. Take it from a kid who grew up here. I've always seen it.
Mr. Sanchez, please describe a situation where your opinions have differed from those of others. How did you work through those differences and reach consensus?
Anything can be accomplished with teamwork, especially working in the operating room. It's a very stressful environment. Just today alone, the stress level was a little more than usual. We had a lot of call outs. We had a lot of things thrown at us that were not part of our usual day-to-day operation, so to speak. But with teamwork, as long as you're transparent with the team and you guys have a game plan together, anything can be accomplished, in my opinion.
How do you think the general public perceives the level of service that KUA provides? Do you believe the general public feels that KUA's rates are fair?
I believe so.
Even though KUA is an independent authority, do you have any concern that a portion of the revenue is distributed to the city of Kissimmee? As a board member, you could receive complaints from customers or employees. How would you handle such situations? Also, as a public official, you could receive public scrutiny or criticism of your actions or decisions. Describe how you feel you would react to such scrutiny or criticism.
To the latter, sticks and stones may break my bones. I was taught as a child, public scrutiny, people having a problem with you, you take it with, with stride. Don't let it affect you. Try to fix whatever the problem is, but don't let anything personally offend you because it'll cloud your judgment. And I'm a firm believer in that. Can you repeat the first half of the question?
The first part was, you, as a board member, you could receive complaints from customers or employees. How would you handle such situations?
I'd hear them out. Learning from leaders that I've had in my area, sometimes people just want to be heard. And sometimes just venting, it makes them feel so much better. Just take great notes and you find out how you can help them. Just don't interrupt them. Don't pretend that you know what their situation is like, because you may not have firsthand knowledge of the situation they're going through. Just being that helpful ear can make all the difference.
Why do you want to serve on the KUA board, and what contributions do you feel you could make to KUA? Please describe any goals that you would like to implement while you are on the board.
My goals are simple. I love to learn. I'm a big nerd. My wife and my kids always call me a nerd. And I see this as a big learning experience. Can help me in my personal life, can help me just in my career as well. The fraternal organization was a prime example of that. I joined, as a young adult, and I've learned so much through that fraternal organization. Budgeting, putting out fires, so to speak, everything. It prepares you for life. And I think anything that you're involved with, depending on how you see it, can prepare you better for life. And I feel like this position would make me a better person. And in turn, I hope I can contribute back to the customers of KUA and to the board as well, to make me a better person as well. And so I can learn from them and their experience.
Mr. Sanchez, do you have any comments or questions for this board?
Not at the moment, no.
And do any of y'all have any questions? Yes, Ray?
Since you haven't really sat on too many boards, have you provided volunteer activities to other organizations, and what would they be?
Oh, absolutely. I may not have been a part of a board, but I've been on part of several committees, not only in my fraternal organization, but as well at Osceola Regional. As far as volunteering with my fraternal organization, we do a lot of volunteering in the sense that every year we used to do a cookout, 4th of July for the first responders. This will be the first year we don't do that since there won't be a fireworks display. Every election cycle to raise money for the fraternal organization, we volunteer to work the election polls. This year I'll be clerk come August, which is a huge responsibility. It'll be my first time. I've always been the second man, the assistant clerk, so to speak. And that we don't make money off. Other people who work the elections, they do get paid for. We do it as a volunteer effort to raise money for our lodge.
Do you mind if I ask what organization it is?
It's the Freemason Lodge, the Masonic Lodge here in downtown Kissimmee.
Yeah, they do a lot of volunteer things. Any other questions, comments?
No.
Thank you very much. Yes.
People on the board, people on the.
Oh, any of y'all on Zoom? Brian keeps waving his arm in the air for me to address you all on Zoom if you have any questions.
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm fine. Grant, do you think that we can enlighten these young men on sunshine law?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mayor?
He wants you
we-
to explain the sunshine law.
Sure. He gave his answer. Absolutely. What the Florida Sunshine Law is, it's, to put it basically, if you are on an elected or appointed governing body in the state of Florida, all your conversations as a board member have to be about business coming before that governing body, has to be at a duly noticed public meeting.
Okay.
So for example, none of these board members tonight could walk out of this building when this is over and talk about your candidacy, because that's coming before the board and going before the consent.
And don't feel bad that you didn't know it. I would say half the people have never heard of it and some have.
I
So-
appreciate that.
And the other thing is that when new board members come on, we provide an orientation and go into great detail about the statutory requirements for government officials.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Grant. And, I wanted to provide also, it's true, not everyone knows what the sunshine law is, but once the person gets accepted in the board, will get enough training to understand correctly about sunshine law. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
just wanted to
Mary.
make sure that the candidate was able to understand what sunshine law.
Absolutely. And board members have me as a resource. If they have a question about the sunshine law or about public records, they can contact me and I'll provide counsel.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your application.
Thank you for your consideration. Nice to meet everyone.
Same here.
Good to meet
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Get my mask on.
So is anybody else downstairs? Okay. And you two are still on Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Then let's talk about how we handle the applicants that we have. First of all, we've taken Crystal off the list entirely since she chose to withdraw. Then we've got two others, Carlos Rodriguez and Catalin Cruz, who were not at the meeting. I think historically, what we have done is said, since we didn't have the opportunity to interview them, just rank them according to their resume and let it go at that.
well, I have strong feelings about this. If they don't feel the necessity to come in front of the board to share with us their ideas, and it's important for them to be here, that I just don't think we should rank them at all, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, and of course, and stop me if I'm getting out of line, Grant, but of course, if we all feel that way and rank them accordingly, we wouldn't be referring them to the city anyhow. They wouldn't be in the top three. So can we arbitrarily withdraw a name, or do we want to express the fact that we have concerns that they didn't come by rank ordering him accordingly?
We don't
Madam Chair, if I may,
Uh-huh.
I agreed with Ms. Van Meter. If the candidate had already time for an interview and they cannot make that time, they should have responded to us that they could make it. And maybe then we should have, acknowledge it and try to put them in order. But since they decided that they just weren't going to come, and now, Brian, did they call in and said that they couldn't make it or they were running late?
The only candidate that let us know that they weren't going to make it was Crystal Harris,
And she withdrew.
and she withdrew from consideration.
So I believe, Madam Chair, in my opinion, that those candidates that did not come to the interview should not even be recognized on the ranking.
Okay, let's ask our attorney, can we withdraw their names?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and just real quick, even if they did not withdraw themselves, if they don't show up, I think the board, it's within its discretion for the board to say you didn't show up, you are automatically withdrawn from consideration. And
Okay.
just con-
That was,
and just
that's what I was going to say. They automatically withdrew themselves when they did not show up.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that the legality let us do that.
Yeah, I think you have that discretion.
Okay, so do I have a motion to say that?
Please,
Need a
no,
motion?
you just need to decide on which people we're going to send to the city.
You're looking for a motion to withdraw the two candidates that one already withdrew, so you don't have to act on that. You want a motion to withdraw the two candidates that did not show up for the interviews.
Okay,
That's what you're asking.
follow recommendation. I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Yes.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So now we can take them off of this scorecard. And we're down to, well, we've got somebody down there at the bottom.
That's Raymond Sanchez.
Oh, okay. So we're down to four people. So,
Put them together.
I think she's working at that. Or somebody's working at that. Okay.
Can you read the list of people we are considering now?
Yes, in the order that they were interviewed, Henry Thacker, Michael Keurig, Marie Jean Baptiste, and Raymond Sanchez.
Okay.
So do we want to just rank order them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then whoever's got the fewest points, the top 3 with the fewest points will be the 3 that we recommend to the city?
It's like golf. The lower the score, the better.
Yep. So anybody ready to give their rank ordering? Okay, Ray?
Excuse me, the lowest, what is it?
The lowest
Lowest-
score
The
wins.
3 lowest scores will be the recommendations, if the board approves, to go over to the city of Kissimmee for consideration.
I'm assuming we're doing 1 through 4.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
1 being the best, 4
1 being the best and 4 being the worst. Well, not worst, but
Right.
Okay, Ray?
Henry, I gave a 1. Raymond would be a 2. Michael would be a 3, and Marie Jean would be a 4.
Either one of y'all ready?
Going order?
I'm ready.
you ready? Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Jeannie's ready.
Jeannie's ready.
Henry Thacker 1, Michael Keurig 2, Raymond Sanchez 3, and Marie Jean Baptiste 4.
Henry, 2, Michael, 1, Marie, 3, Raymond, 3, and Marie, 4.
I guess I'm the only one left, right?
And me.
Oh, that's right. I'll let you go last. Since you're the chair. It's, we actually have some real good candidates.
We did.
So I remember last time it was pretty easy to eliminate people. This, I'm struggling with this because I see potential, I see experience and so forth. So it's a hard decision. So, and anyone could be one. And then I think any of the individuals that were in front of us today, I think any of them could serve this board with no problem and with honor. But I'm gonna have to put the Sanchez 1, Michael Kirk 2, and Thacker 3.
And Marie?
And Marie 4,
Marie 4.
she's the last one.
And I think that, I think I'd put Henry 1, Michael 2, Marie 4, and Raymond 3.
Okay, well, you've got your 3 people then.
We do.
You need board,
Yeah.
you need board action.
So what we say at this point is, would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we take the top 3 votes or bottom
Yes.
votes and present them to the city.
Okay.
Henry Thacker, Raymond Sanchez, and Michael Couric.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Very good.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I think you guys made an excellent decision with those three candidates.
Yep.
Looking forward to hearing them in my commission meeting.
Yep. Y'all will have a hard decision too. All right. So we're up to hear the attorney.
I'll be fast. Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing really coming up is that Mayor Alvarez and I will be participating virtually in the policymakers fly-in. Regrettably, we can't go to Washington this year for obvious reasons. Probably the two major issues we will address is advanced refunding. There's been a bipartisan push to bring that back to give utilities the ability, municipal, not just utilities, but municipal government, local government, the ability to refund their bonds ahead of time, like we've done in the past, to realize interest savings. So there seems to be a bit of a momentum for it. So that'll probably be one of the bigger issues we look at. We may also address APPA is pushing for Congress to give municipal electric utilities the option to tap in to direct funds to compensate for lost revenues due to the pandemic. So those are the two major issues. And outside of that, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Brian?
And you've got your reminders there. There are not very many. 4th of July holiday is coming up. I want you all to have a enjoyable holiday, but a safe holiday.
Ray?
Oh, no, I think I'm good.
Okay.
A good meeting. Good candidates. That's it.
Nothing.
You all on Zoom?
Just happy 4th of July, everybody.
Hope you're feeling better.
Oh, I am every day.
Good.
And I don't have anything much to say. I went to the APPA conference, sort of, and it was very strange attending. I sat in my house looking at Zoom for 3 days, but it really and I got into some meetings that I typically wouldn't have gone to because I would have been doing other things, but it really pointed out the situation that we're in and how well off we are and how much planning has been able to save us during this COVID crisis. And I mean, there's places in the country that are so far down on their revenues that they're having to go borrow money. There's lots of places where cities are having to give money to the utility to keep them running, or states or counties or whatever. But it's just really nice that we've weathered the storm to this point and been able to keep going in the right direction. So that's kind of what I learned from APPA.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I want to give a report of what's going on with COVID-19. As you guys know, I sit in the emergency policy group. Tomorrow, we will be having a press conference in the afternoon because of the uptick that we're having with the cases. As you guys also know, Florida now has become a hotspot. We're the 14th state. Osceola County, as of today, has 2,164 cases. Sad to report that we have another death today. Now we're 25. Osceola residents hospitalized are 199 and continues to grow. Percentage of the positive, at the end of May, we were at 5%. Today, we are at 8%. Unfortunately, there's a new part of our generation that is getting positive, which is a younger generation between the ages of 18 to 45. They don't seem to understand that COVID-19 is still out there. Unfortunately, you know, what happens with them is they'll come back positive, but they don't show, majority of them don't show the sickness. But when they go home, they give it to their parents. So we're seriously looking at what other changes we're going to have to make. As you guys heard last week, the governor had to shut down bars. If it continues to grow, the governor allowed the sale of alcohol for restaurants that have a license of liquor. But that looks like it's going to be next to be shut down. If that happens, those restaurants will probably, most of them will really, on a second shutdown, will go out of business. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So I'm asking everyone on this 4th of July weekend, please continue to stay with social distancing. And it's so easy. The 3 requests that we're all making is social distancing when you're in public, wear your face cover, and continue, and I hate to continue to say this, is continue to wash your hands and hygiene. If we will be able to continue to do this, we can live with COVID-19 because there's no cure for COVID-19. But unfortunately, our youth are not listening. We have seen a high number of younger generation now hospitalized, which we hadn't seen before. Again, it appears that we're going backwards instead of forward. September will be flu season, which is the dangerous part of the mixture of the two, which is what we're trying to avoid for people to start taking care of themselves. That's it on my side, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Thank you all. And we'll see you next month.
Happy Independence Day.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh.
4th.
See you later.